Yeah, good evening, people. Hope you're well. Yeah, this is a podcast, and I'm talking to a great dyslexia, an author, helps lots of people. Really enjoyed this, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from it to help you in your business. And you're listening to... Oh, yeah. If you're listening on iTunes, please subscribe. Yeah, please share this with people. Why not join me on Radio Warwickshire? So that's radiowarwickshire.com every Tuesday morning, UK time, for the business show. Or every Monday evening, UK time, 6 o'clock, not 8 o'clock, for the country music show. Both shows now beam to Queensland, Australia. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Evening, people. So this is something I've been looking forward to. I'm going to be talking to an individual at the minute who focuses on body language in business and also is a fellow dyslexian. So that's great. I like to get them on the show. So good evening.
Hi there, Kirk.
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself for the people that are out there?
Sure. I'm Carole Railton. I've written a book called The Future of Body Language, as I work with behaviour and focus particularly on body language. And currently I'm in the top 30 in the world as the body language guru.
Ooh, that's good. So the top 30 as in the book or as in what your practice?
No, as a consultant. It takes in several university professors in the States, and looks at everybody all over the world. It's basically measured on what you've published and how active you are in that field. I mean, I think it's great because you can't ask all your friends to vote for you, which a lot of these other sites do. They say, this person is number one. This site does it purely on academic papers, of which I've only written 2, but it's enough to hold me in there at the moment. I probably need to write another book actually to survive it next year.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. I do very little research on people when I get them on the show because I like to get it, like that. That's quite like a wow moment. That's great. I mean, to say the top 30 and like you say, for it to be peer reviewed and done by an organisation rather than thousands of votes from people that obviously adds a bit more weight to it, doesn't it? A bit more meaning.
It does, and it does mean you can charge more, which is even better, really.
Oh, we love that, don't we? We love that. That's great, being able to charge more. So, yeah. So the book then, the book, The Future on Body Language. So where does that come? What got you interested in that?
I got asked to write the book, and its subtitle is How to Communicate Effectively in Business Through Multimedia. But basically, body language has been a way to communicate. Since we're born, we start using body language. Babies use their eyes, they use the crying to attract their parents' attention, to get fed, to get loved, and that sort of thing. And as we progress through life, we ditch some of that knowledge and behaviour, and we use language more, and later on we use written communication.
Yep.
And the problems with communication start because we're not looking at the person face to face. We can't read their emotions. The face, for instance, gives away most of what's going on for us. When we meet somebody, we can tell, especially if we know them already, we can tell from their face whether they're angry, had a bad day, happy, had a good day, that sort of thing. If we sorry.
Yeah, no, go on, sorry.
Yeah. So if we can't see them, we work at a different level, a more generic level. And it's no surprise then we have all these angry people, of which I have been one, on the telephone talking to telesales people who tell you they can't put you through to the manager and this and that. And you just lose it because you have no way of knowing how they are, and they in turn have no way of knowing who you are, whether you're important or not important in the overall play, or whether you're happy or not happy. They're just following a script. And that's where a lot of miscommunication happens, when there's no visuals included in it.
Yeah, and I think that's true to say. I'm just going to not digress a bit here, but go on to a different one, which is the social media aspect, where you can type something and there's actually no feeling. There's not even the vocal sound, because me and you are not even looking at each other now. So I can't read you, you can't read me, but we can hear the way we're talking to each other, and we've got that interaction through the sound of the voice. But when you then take that into written word, and especially on social media, that can cause a massive problem. Or emails that you might send to your clients, where people, I've done it loads of time. We've been dyslexic as well. I write things down, make sense to me, I know what I'm talking about, and people take offense to it and go, oh, why have you said that? And I'm like, and it was a genuinely not meant to be either aggressive or insulting or whatever, but yet the other person reads it and goes, why are you being like that? That's not very nice. What have you said that to me for? But because there's no voice with it, and there's no body language. If they were sat next to me, they'd have got what I meant straight away.
Exactly. That's so true. I mean, the interesting thing is about all this, that if you're angry, and you could try this now actually, if you're angry and you're really frowning and everything, you can't then talk with a happy voice, or write with a happy pen, as it were. You remain in that state until you change. And the reverse is true. When I'm teaching telesales people, I will ask them to be really happy and then try and shout at me. Yeah? It's impossible. It's impossible. So those sorts of things need to be taught to the people on the end of the phone. And people like us who are customers, they need to understand it too, that they can break out of the state they're in and change their behaviour, and they get a different result.
Yeah, because people will gravitate, and there's a lot of stuff about sending vibrations out, and obviously body language is probably part of that. And I mean, we've all been in situations where we've been in a room, crowded room, and there's someone that doesn't look very friendly. Maybe they're hunched up and they're just looking at the phone or whatever they're doing, and they're sending out the vibe that, don't come and talk to me, I'm not interested. And people avoid them, and then they'll go, no one's talking to me, what's going on? And it's because they're in that state of mind. Yet when you get into a room where there's someone who's happy, smiling, open arms, and warm, greeting, that type of greeting, people more and more, and people wonder, why is that person more popular than that person? Am I right on that? Am I right?
Absolutely right. And I can visually demonstrate that, given that we're on the radio.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little scenario. If you think about a bouncer, their shoulders are back, they're pushing their chest forward, and they're repelling the bad guys. Yeah, they're only going to let in the good guys, and you see that straight away. So if you're a bad guy, you probably move on to the next club. Yeah, and then so that's the one extreme, and the other extreme is the tramp, who is leaning forward, has concave chest. Yeah, they hardly take any breaths. And people won't go towards them either, because they're completely closed off. They're hardly breathing, they're hardly alive. So people don't gravitate to them. And we hear people saying about tramps, don't go near them, to children and things like this. It's because of their posture. If you gave them a different posture, that this wouldn't happen. And it's interesting. One of the reasons I got recognised with my work with body language initially was because I was more interested in retraining individuals than working with the analysis, right? Because by changing your behaviour and your body language, you change the results you get. If you think about the tramp stance, if I take that and the other extreme, the bouncer, then somewhere in between is where you generally need to be if you want to make contact with other people and if you want to influence them. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
So working on yourself first will get you different results, and that's what you need to do in business. Yeah?
Yeah.
before you can start analysing someone else. You learn a lot of the tips and everything by learning about yourself, but it's far better to understand what's happening and why, and it's because of your body language. The question I normally ask people is what you say what they hear? Yeah.
Right.
And of course it isn't. You know, you can try this out anytime you like with anybody, with your partners, with your business associates, colleagues. It isn't what they hear. They hear something different. And that's got many connotations. One, how confident that person is, how aware of themselves they are, but mainly it's to do with what they want and how it's different from what you want. And they've
Yeah.
had different experiences in life to you, so they make judgments a different way. So it's understanding what's going on for them, and more importantly, in my beliefs, what's going on for you, and how you can marry those two up.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people get frustrated when they're in business and they're trying to grow the business, and because I do a lot of networking, so and I see people getting frustrated. But I know a classic one there where I had a guy a few months ago who just stood on his own, and he was definitely didn't want to be spoke. You could just tell he just didn't want to be spoken to. Yeah, he's in a networking environment. So I actually went over and had a chat with him and asked him what
Yeah,
was wrong and etc. And I could tell before I even spoke to him, he wasn't comfortable. He wasn't happy. His business wasn't. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't where he wanted
yeah,
to be. And as
yeah.
soon as I started talking to him, he opened up and told me where he was at and what he was doing. And that he was like, he could have had a flashing light. To me, it was like he had a flashing light on his head saying, I have a problem here, I've got a problem here. And I don't know if that's, I think I've got a lot of empathy, and I'm not talking from my own point of view, with being dyslexic. I think dyslexic have a lot of empathy and notice things like that, maybe more than the general public, or am I wrong in that assumption?
I'm not sure, academically about that, but I know that I'm more sensitive, and I think I grew towards body language because it was easy for me to read it, or easier for me to read it than the person next to me, like my friends or something like that.
Yeah.
And of course they could write much better than I could and do other things much better, but I had this ability to know what was going on with someone. And I think we have a heightened sensitivity.
Yeah.
And they say that, don't they, that if you're lacking in one sense or one ability, you're stronger in another. And I think
Yeah.
generally dyslexics have a higher IQ, but they have a different way of experiencing things. And I'm absolutely sure in years to come, we won't be segregated like we are at the moment. You know, when you think about people like Richard Branson, Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci, who's my hero, they were all dyslexic and the benefit of that to the universe
Yeah.
was they saw things differently and were able to express that. So we advanced technically, artistically, as a human race. And I don't claim to be one of them, but I do claim to have broken down body language into sections and included the breath, which is what got me recognized initially.
Yeah.
People were talking about how to analyze the folded arm, the closed body language, the head, the shoulders, but no one was taking into account the breath, which is actually a fundamental of life. You can only live for 3 minutes without breath. And the breath gives them so many clues. If I speak very, very quickly, my breath is much shorter. And it's indicating that I'm excited or I'm nervous. There are times when you relax, you talk much more slowly, you breathe much more slowly, go to the gym and it's reversed again. So your breath is always going to give away clues. And if you
Yeah.
really
That's
Yeah, if you really concentrate in those little dents either side of your neck, you can see the breath pattern of someone. And whilst many other body language gurus talk about mimicking, i.e., copying what someone is doing, for me, that's a nightmare. What if that person is depressed and you mimic them? Where are you? I mean, it doesn't take any amount of intelligence to imagine that one. And but if you follow the person's breath pattern, then you're really in sync, and they say things to you like, we've only just met, but I really feel as if I've known you for ages. And why do we get on so well? And things like that. Because you're actually in their breath, you're in their life force. You're operating at the same level.
That's really interesting. I never thought of that. Yeah, and you're right, because especially if it's really quiet and you're sat watching the TV, or maybe even if you lay in bed or something like that, and you're obviously with your partner, you do tend to notice that the breath and how you're both breathing, don't you? Especially if it's really quiet. And that's really interesting. I really like that. I'm going to watch out for that. But yeah, I agree with you. Don't mimic other people, because you're your own human being. The other thing which is quite interesting from a body language point of view is the use of hands as well for me. So when people are talking and they're narrating, you let your hands go freely. I'm talking to you now, my hands are all over the place. Yeah, you can't see it, but they're all over. But what is really this, you'll see a lot of politicians talking as well. I think David Cameron was the classic, where he'd bring his hand together and touch his thumb onto his first finger, and then do this forward action with his hand, like, offering something up. And I think it's a really false gesture. But yet lots of people, do you know which one I mean? The sort of the gesture I mean?
People, are you talking about the sort of steeply one, or?
Yeah, I probably should have just sent a. It's not very good on radio, is it? But yeah, basically, you've got your hand like a cup, as if, say, you're holding something.
Oh, I know, open
like a microphone, and then they touch the thumb on the top of the finger, and then they sort of push their hand up and forward as every time they're speaking, as if they've got a piece of paper in their hand and they're wafting it around. It's a really bizarre body. Anyway, I'm probably ruined.
No, that's okay. The politicians are obviously trained in body language. The people that you need to watch out for when you're reading body language are politicians, lawyers, the police, medical profession, actors. Those sorts of people can all defy standard body language. So you need to be careful. The other thing to watch out for when reading someone's body language is, are they comfortable in that situation? You mentioned earlier the guy at the network meeting who clearly wasn't. Some people are really good with being on stage. I'm one of those people. I love doing public speaking.
Yeah, me too.
And maybe that's a dyslexic thing then. But a lot of people, like very good salespeople, are very, very good at one-to-one with the client, or one-to-two even. But ask them to go on stage, they can't do it. They absolutely can't do it. So I work a lot with salespeople in that scenario, helping them to go on stage. And I think, it's the ones that are good at the one-to-one are very good at that intimate stuff, but they can't do the general stuff.
Yeah.
And that needs some work on as well, because sometimes people who are good at public speaking are not good in a confined environment on a one-to-one selling. They feel threatened, they don't feel equal, and those sorts of things. And you can change all those feelings, of course, by changing your body language.
Right. Yeah, because there's the old saying in there, and I've used it before. People buy from people. They're not just particularly buying. Obviously, we're talking about business and body language. People are not necessarily just buying a product. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a product, but they're not. Say I offer a service, X service, then the why they're going to buy from me and not from someone else down the road, and which one they're going to choose. And generally it's down because of the individual and how they interact with that individual, whether they trust what they're talking about, or so from your point of view?
Yeah, can I interrupt you there?
You can.
Thank you. People buy from people is just slightly adrift again. People
Right, okay.
buy from people they like. That's who they buy from. They don't just buy from people, they buy from people they like. And the way I train this one is in psychology, there are 7 personality styles. But when you're dealing with business people, there's not enough time for them or not enough memory space for them to remember those 7.
Yeah.
I've broken it down into 4. So it's like a grid. There's 4 squares, a quadrant, and 4 squares. And I put in one of them pragmatic people.
Yeah.
And they make their minds up straight away. You don't need to do a whole spiel about your product or service. They make their mind up straight away, and you need to talk as quickly as I'm talking now to them.
Okay.
Because they think quickly and they talk quickly.
I'm writing this down as you're saying it. Go on. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay, then an analytical person will talk much more slowly, and all they'll do to you is ask you questions. What year were you formed? How long have you been doing this? Just go on and on and on asking you questions. They talk very slowly. And then you've got what I call the amiable. They're the nice people. Everybody likes them. They've got hundreds of friends. They'll do anything for you. And the problem is they say yes to everything. Are you going to buy my product? Yes. And then the next person goes into the client and they say, are you going to buy my product? And they go, yes, I am going to buy your product. So you never know where you are with them because they're always nice to you. You think
because they don't want to upset you, do they?
No. And they don't. That's a very good way of putting it. They are fixers. So like doctors, nurses, mothers are generally in that role.
Yeah.
They put things back together. They don't stretch out in other ways.
Yeah.
And then the fourth category is extrovert. They also talk quite quickly, and you need to talk quite quickly to them. And I would suggest that a life insurance salesman would be a good job for them because they make decisions based on life or death. It has to be really exciting for them to catch on to what you're saying or buy your product.
Yeah.
So that's how you need to establish those 4 criteria, and then through body language, obviously, and then play to them in their own behaviour, really.
Yeah, that's I like that because you're right. If you're going in with one attitude or one way of working, it's not going to fit everybody, is it? So if you're obviously trying to sell something, like you say, to a pragmatic person, you need to be quick and this is bum, because otherwise they'll get bored and go, oh my God, will you shut up, forget you? And you've lost them.
They'll send you out.
Get out.
They're
the
very,
point.
Yeah, exactly. They're very good negotiators. These are the guys that say to you, you think you got the contract and you're just ready to have it signed, and they go, okay, so it's £200. So what is the discount for me if I sign today? And then you sink into your body because you have believed until that moment you've made the sale. Yeah. They are excellent negotiators and they think very quickly and they demand a result and a reaction very quickly. If you then say, oh, I can't give you a discount because I have to speak to my boss, you're not going to get the business.
Yeah, because they'll go off. Yeah, okay.
They'll take from the next person who's got the authority and they think is equal to them. The worst thing you can do with a pragmatic is act as a victim, which is an extreme version, act as if you're not equal to them. Yeah?
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Totally get it. So, because if you look at some people that are in, I don't know, I'd say someone like, say, Theopathetus, I'd say he's probably a pretty pragmatic kind of guy, and he's like,
Yes.
This is what it is. Boom, but I've made my mind up. Move on.
Yeah.
Hey, I like.
Well, most CEOs, 80% of CEOs are pragmatics. I mean, of big companies. I'm not talking about small media, and I'm talking about big companies. 80% are pragmatic.
Because you have to be that type of individual to get to that level because the amount of decisions you've got to make, and you can't dilly-dallying around with when you're in a big business. Some things, yes, if it's a long-term plan, then you've got but you have people to do the analytical work, don't you? They come back to you as a CEO and go, here's the information, boss, and you go, yeah, makes sense, let's do it. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. So reference business then. So what you're saying is with this Boston Matrix, I've written it all out. So you're saying if you are in business and you're talking to these individuals and picking up what you said before, you need to understand, align yourself with their breath rhythm and what type of individual they are for you to have a better opportunity for that sale or that contract or whatever you're looking for.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Yes. And certainly in all the clients I've worked with, it's increased their success rate. When I worked with Konica Europe, the director, who only saw me before the assignment for a couple of minutes, really, he came. It was a 2-day event, and he came in at the end of the 2 days and took everybody for a drink and bought pink champagne, which I love, and. He said to me at the bar, he said, "What drugs have you been using with my staff?" And I said, "Well, firstly, I think they're called personnel these days." And he said, "Well, what drugs? What drugs?" And I said, "Look, I just, you gave me a task, or your organisation gave me a task, and I understood it, and I've completed it." So it was really funny.
Yeah. How's this happened? I mean, I know. I've done some stuff with people in the past and worked on contracts, and then they go, "What's happened?" You know what I mean? It's like, because that's great. That really, and that has made a lot of sense to me today, talking to you about what you're doing and how body language affects what we do. Because whether we like it or not, we're sending out these signals all the time, aren't we, to individuals that we're sat with. I think even to the point where my wife can be stood behind me, and by the shape or what I'm doing, she'll go, "Don't be doing that." And she'll know as if I'm like upset with her, or do you know what I mean? It's like, because she knows me that well, she can tell from the back of my head what I'm thinking, which is pretty scary. Pretty scary,
No,
isn't it?
it's good. It enhances relationships. I mean, there's a couple of benefits. You speed up communications when you learn about this body language style of operating. You speed up communications, so you have more time, and you're making more money if you're in a sales or negotiating scenario. So I don't think there's much else you need in life, really, except fun. And I guess you'll get that whilst you're learning it, and you maybe can make more of that when you've learned it.
Love it.
It's really simple. And of course, if I may just say this, the first time you meet someone face to face, you make your mind up about that person in the first 3 seconds. So you decide if you like them or not. Then your body or your mind then has to validate that to make it okay. So you make your mind up that you don't like this person, and they drop a book, at that precise moment. Your brain goes, "I knew I didn't like that person. They're clumsy," right?
Yeah.
Now, the same person a different person sees that same person and says, "Oh, I like the look of them." They drop the book and they go, "Oh, at least they're human. I knew I like them."
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So your subconscious has made a decision on something, and then your conscious mind then starts to fill in the gaps depending how it wants the outcome to be.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like as well with that? You're quite right. The amount of times where I've met somebody, my big thing's trust with individuals. Like a lot of people, it's trust. And I've met a couple of people that I felt like I've been conned. And I don't know whether that's me or them, where further down the line, I was like, I was totally wrong about you. You're not who you appear to be.
Yeah.
So would that have been down to the body language, the way they were, or what would you? I know I'm putting you on the spot, and you wasn't.
No. This is my job. I love it. What happens is we make decisions based on the tonality of the voice and the physicality of the person and how that performs.
Mm-hmm.
So if what the person is saying is not what their body language is saying, then the message isn't real.
Yeah.
But until you understand how to read that, I mean, I get put on the spot with politicians, with, when Jerry Hall married Murdoch, I got asked, is this going to last? Are they a good, that sort of thing. I forecast that Obama would win the elections and become the president in the States all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his body language. He had been taught NLP. I don't know if you've heard of NLP.
Yeah, I know a few people that do NLP.
Yeah. So he'd been taught NLP and he was using that. And it's clear that to me he was using it. And that's a really strong, influential behavior. So he did that subliminally in a way. People didn't realize what he was doing and they voted for him.
Yeah.
So but whatever he said happened in his body language to enforce what he was saying. And that's the key, really. A lot of people say things, but their body language isn't saying the same thing. And that's when you get the mixed messages, and you sometimes feel trapped, or I can't remember the word you used. What was the word you used?
Conned. Yeah, conned.
Really strong. You'll feel conned because you were probably listening more to the words than focusing on the body language.
I like that. But you're right about Obama. From all the the presidents that are coming along as an individual. When I looked at Obama before he, and then subsequently when he became president, you had that trust with him. I think I looked at him and thought, well, this guy seems really genuine. I think he's great for the USA, and obviously the USA has a big influence about the rest of the world. Great, So you definitely you're correct. Whatever he said seemed legitimate. That that he was going to be good, he was going to be positive. His way he acts with his family and his wife and his kids. A good family guy. It appears to the outside world. Whether that's the case or not, I have no idea because I can only see what I've seen on TV.
Now, there are some issues with him, but I mean, the fact is that he had a goal.
Mm-hmm.
He went after it. He took advice, and he got what he wanted. I mean, that's all business is about, really. You want to sell to someone, you want your business to develop, and if you're struggling, I suggest to you that one of the reasons might be your behaviour.
Yeah.
Either the words you're using or your body language. And they can be adjusted quite quickly. So, just a couple of coaching sessions generally does it as a starting point. I just did some work with an estate agent. They're called Keatons. They're very big in London. And I worked with the CEO initially. I say this because he's on my video, so he tells you that he worked with me. He won the Sunday Times Small Business Award in his category, and as a result got asked to go to Australia and do talks to 800 people.
Yeah.
He'd never done talks to more than 8 people, and we worked together for a while, and we did more than that, but that we got him to be able to talk to people and things. And then as a result of that, he said, would you be able to teach my branch managers to perform on podcasts, because I would like them to each make a podcast every week of their best property, and we put it online. And I said, sure. So he recognized immediately that changing his behavior had more influence on his personnel, and that therefore changing the manager's behaviors would have more influence on their personnel and their clients.
Yeah.
And it was a relatively quick. I mean, I took a lot of time with him, but we did different things as well. But I only did a day's training with his managers, and it was amazing, the difference in the results and things. It's just incredible.
That sounds wonderful. So from people listening, because you'd obviously like to help everybody, and they can go and buy your book and various other things. So,
Please buy it from me, not from Amazon, because Amazon pay you a halfpenny.
oh,
You know.
right. Well, before we move on, then tell people where they can buy the book from. Let's do that now.
Okay. I think I'll give you. Okay. Can I give a site where they can go for body language tips?
Yes, that's great.
Okay. If you go to Facebook, facebook.com/, then my name, Carole, Carole, Railton, Railton, online.
Yeah.
That's the body language tips, general, not just for business, for everything. And I post on there things about the robots and how they've made the robots, by looking at body language and things.
Yeah.
If you drop me a line there and say you want to buy the book, I can post it out to you, sign it, and I'll even, for the price of the book, which is $8.99, I gift wrap it and post it to anywhere in the world.
Right.
So you only actually pay me £9, and I'll gift wrap it, sign it, and post it.
No, that sounds quite reasonable. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting subject, body language, because obviously, like you say, especially if we're in business and we're trying to interact with people, even on a personal level, probably people that are looking for a relationship or struggle to get a partner and what's going on, and I presume, not presume, the whole thing with your body language gives you either an element of success or failure depending how you act when you actually go and meet that person for the first time.
That is correct. It does. And the other thing I would just like to say, I might be pushing my luck here, but because we are on radio, if people wanted to see me, I've got a video online at YouTube, and it's my name, Carole Railton. And if they put in a double dot and put life after branding, BRAND,
Yep.
ING, that video will come up. It's 2.5 minutes long, and it shows me doing public talks and training people and things like that, so they can see me, and there's a few tips in there as well.
Well, that's good. That's great. Yeah, I've scribbled loads of stuff down here, and I'll put them in because my show's going out obviously, and it goes onto YouTube. It goes onto YouTube. It goes onto iTunes and TuneIn Radio. So I tend to put some show notes in as well. So I'll put some things in from what we've been talking about. But yeah, so what's the one tip people can do right now if they were going to go out to meet a potential customer? How can you give them a couple of things they can do just to raise their potential success?
Yes. Okay. The first thing is to check your breathing. If you've arrived late, you've been in your car or on the tube or something, and you're out of breath because you're rushing to make the time, you need to stand still and do a couple of breaths. And then I'd like you to feel your body. Is your spine straight? Is your head balanced on your spine?
Right.
And when you're in the meeting or when you shake the person's hand, make sure both feet are on the ground. When you're doing the talk, if you feel nervous or whatever it is, the meeting, keep both feet on the ground. It literally means you're grounded. Right. And one of the exercises we do on the training actually is to take the whole class, and everybody has a turn, and the person talks with their feet on the ground and with their feet off the ground, and we learn to guess it, and it gives you clues as to what's going on with the person. So we take it down to that detail. It's really powerful. So keep your feet on the ground, especially if you're talking to someone who I've trained, because they'll know what's going on for you. Right. So that will stabilize you and make you more confident. Of course, there's many other things, but those two things, take a couple of deep breaths before you go in, keep your feet on the ground, and you're going to see an improvement for sure.
No, I like that. That's all we need, because then people can go and search you out. They can try that, and then hopefully go and buy your book and whatever, and from your point of view, and take it further. Because at the end of the day, people are in business to get more business, expand the business, and be successful. So everything they can do to improve that is great, and that's why I want people on you as guests to help them along their little journey, because people will struggle, and just by maybe changing those two things would have a massive impact on their success overall. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Cool. Well, if they want to do coaching, I obviously do coaching online because you can now see people online. And I'll make an offer then to your listeners. If they contact me within the next month, I will give them 5 coaching sessions for the price of 4. I have offered it to a section of the public here, but I mean, that would be quite a good deal for them.
Right. Okay. And I'll obviously it'll be from the date of the podcast going out, not from not a month's time from listening, because it'll be like, you said within a month. This is in the month.
Oh, okay. Well, you let me know when it goes out then.
I will do. Yeah, I'll put it at the start and at the end, and then people will know exactly what it is. Yeah.
But I'm not in the country in November. They should know that. So. Okay. I'm travelling. I go off to places like I did some work for KPMG in Singapore and things like that.
Nice, very well. You know what? The time's just flitted away, and it's been wonderful to talk to you. I really took a lot from it personally, which is great. I'm gonna try a couple of things you just said then, and I'm gonna go and check your YouTube channel out. And I'm hoping it helps people that are listening on the podcast and on the radio. So thanks for joining me today. It's been great.
Well, it's been great to talk to you, and I hope everyone does get some benefit. And perhaps they'd be kind enough to post something or somewhere, Twitter or anywhere, to say that. That would be really nice.
Okay, so on the Facebook page. So what's your Twitter handle, and what's your website?
It's Carole Railton, Twitter. Yeah, it's Carole Railton. And probably the best place to look me up is on LinkedIn, Carole Railton, and it's got FRSA after my name, because there are a couple of Carole Railtons, unfortunately, or fortunately, there's loads of us.
Oh well.
And the training, well, I've got several websites, so probably go from there, okay. Because I have a website for just the general public, which is livingsuccess.co.uk. I have Life After Branding, lifeafterbranding.com for training. And then I'm in partnership with a couple of guys. We're making some videos for worldwide production. And we have a site. It's not launched yet, so probably keep to the Facebook page, or they can email me at carole@lifeafterbranding.com. That's an easy one, carole@lifeafterbranding.com, and that will get me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks very much. I'm just off now to go and meet some people for the first time. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get me...
feet on the ground, deep breath before...
And a deep breath before I actually go and speak to them. And I'll see what reaction I get from the individual. But a couple of people I know, but there's someone I'm meeting for the first time. So I'm going to try it. And thanks for joining us today. Good luck in what you're doing in the future. And obviously, stuff in the fun.
You with your meeting this afternoon. That sounds great.
Yeah.
You'll be a real success, I know.
I'll try. Right. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Take care. Bye, Kurt.
Yeah, really grateful to Carole for the interview. Really informative. Hope you enjoyed that. This will be available on TuneIn Radio as well. So check it out there. Like I say, check out my show every Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock, radiowarwickshire.com, where I play music and interesting guests. Oh yeah. Also, if you want to download my free app, it's on Google Play Store. Just search Duggystone. You can interact with me there, listen to past shows, podcasts, and if you want a request on one of my shows, you can send me a request. Quite simple. Anyway, whatever you're doing this week, stay safe, people. Please interact with me at Duggystone on Twitter, at Duggystone Show on Twitter. Thanks for your time. See ya.